I finished collating the stats for the entire tournament, and I'm really excited to share them with you here. Before I do, though, I would ask that you hit the like button, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell icon, because they do really help with the whole YouTube algorithm and getting the videos out to a wider audience. Okay, so let's jump into some numbers. Starting as always with possession. So we've got Ireland and Italy at the top of 52% each as an average over their 5 games. Next is England with 50.8, Scotland with 50%, and Wales 49.6. France at the bottom there with 45.6. So France, they've shown, they have that ability above any of the others really to live off scraps and still to be dangerous. They don't need that much ball to hurt a team, and it's normally actually when the opposition are in possession where they can be most dangerous, because as soon as the ball goes loose or is turned over, they're so quick at switching from defense to attack, and it normally leads to either just a massive break or a score. We saw, like, perfect example, the first try against England there. It looked like England had them under a bit of pressure, and then suddenly France turned over a couple of offloads, great break from Dumortier, pass off then, and then they go for the try. In terms of Ireland and Italy there at the top, Ireland, we've seen they like to be in control of, who has the ball and where the game is played, and they kind of stress you in a different way than France. They basically probe and test at your defense, and they go through the phases of holding onto the ball, and then as soon as they pull your defense out of line and create that gap, they've got tons of strike plays to go, and they hurt you that way. Italy, very different story again. They just hold on to the ball wherever they are. They hold on to it, they pass it. It doesn't matter if they're behind their own line. They're going to try and run it out. And it's almost like for Italy, I felt at times possession was almost a curse for them, because they were making mistakes and conceding tries, or just putting themselves under immense pressure that they didn't need to be under, and turning what could have been possible victories in a few games into defeats for them. So there's something that to work on, and we'll have a look when we look at territory. You can see kind of what I'm talking about with them. So into territory then, we have England at the top with 58, Ireland next with 57.6, Scotland 47, Wales 46.8, Italy 45.4, and France 45.2. So we talked about France before, where they don't need to be dominant because they are so good at using the ball that they have, and they're so good at, once they get a chance, striking from anywhere on the field. I think that's kind of what Italy are looking to emulate, but they're not there in terms of skills and execution to be able to do that. You can see that, like, Italy did a lot more ball than France when we looked at possession, but around about the same amount of territory, which means that when they're in negative territory like that, less than 50%, means they're having a lot of the ball in their own half. And I talked about before that if you make a break in your own half, you might get up to about halfway or just over halfway. If you make a break in the opposition's half, though, you could get over and score. So that's the difference that I'm talking about with them. In terms of the teams then at the top there, we got England at 58. Like, the thing with England is that, like, a lot of their, like, we'll see as we go down through, a lot of their numbers are very solid. And if we were just looking at them in terms of stats, you'd probably say they're actually doing fairly well. But you have to couple that with the performances and the result as well. You can't just look at numbers in isolation. You've got to kind of tie it back to how the team performed. And, are they winning games? Are they, like, being unlucky and just need things to go right for them? For England, what it is, I think, is that it's their attack their attack is just very blunt at the moment, but they've got a good base there. You can see, and again, we'll see as we're going down through, they've got a nice base there. Actually, if you can layer on an attack onto that, they're going to be a very good team. Next, then we have Ireland. As I said at the top, they were 57.6. So Ireland, top of the possession stats, top of the territory. They're so patient most of the time. Against England, obviously, they had that kind of their blip. Like England had the blip the previous week against France, and Ireland had their blip against England, where the patience wasn't there against England. But all through the tournament, you could see that they were willing to just go through the phases because they knew that they would break your defense down more often than not before they would make a mistake or before you were able to turn the ball over. Next, then we're on to Rooks 1. So, it ties into Ireland really, like most Rooks there, with 533. Next, then we have Italy with 461, England 459, Wales 441, Scotland 439, and France with 357. So France with almost 200 Rooks less than Ireland. And again, it just speaks to the fact that France are happy to not have the ball because they feel like they're always sniffing out for that possibility of you making a mistake, and they're happy for you to have the ball if they think that they can force an error out of you and then capitalize on it. Whereas I said Ireland are more kind of want to be in control. They want to be the ones with the ball. They want to be the ones who are putting the pressure on by attacking rather than defending. Next, then, in terms of Rooks percentage, so at the top we have Ireland with 97.4, Italy 96.2, Scotland 96.1, France 95.7, Wales 95.2, and England 95.2 as well. So, it looks like they're all fairly close in terms of the percentages there, but you have to remember as well, and it's to do with the total numbers as well. When we looked at those, that like I said, that France had almost 200 Rooks less than Ireland, but if you look at like how many Rooks that they lost in terms of, so compared to the totals and stuff, like Ireland lost 14 Rooks in the entire tournament, and France, they lost 16. So France actually lost more Rooks than Ireland, even though Ireland had almost 200 Rooks more. So those percentages, even though they look close, that 97.4 is a fantastic number for Ireland. And also you need to remember that we saw in the France game, in the Scotland game, and also in the England game, and to an extent in the other games, but certainly in those games where at the start of the game, the opposition, they tried to stress Ireland's Rook, slow the ball down, make a mess of the breakdown, but still Ireland were able to retain almost the entirety of the ball throughout the whole tournament. So it just shows you that really is a key part of the game. And I think it also shows you that they've learned, because back in 2019, when it was the Smith Ireland team that was going, also number one in the world, kind of at the start of the Six Nations, going into that World Cup in Japan, teams did exactly the same thing. They targeted Ireland's Rook. They decided to be physical with them. And it was completely different then because Ireland couldn't cope with it. Whereas we've seen with Ireland in these games where initially they can be under a bit of stress because, France are really good at spotting an under-resourced Rook and just going in there with, 4 or 5 players and blowing you off the ball and turning over that way. But the difference in this Ireland team is the adaptability, the fact that it happens early on in the game and then they adapt as the game goes on, and they spot when the opposition are going to try and blow them off the ball, and they also resource the Rook. We saw a lot of times where a team would kind of counter Rook over Ireland and they'd counter Rook back and actually win the ball back as well. So I think it's a sign of great progress from this Ireland team. Italy, they're showing as well that, that they holding onto the ball is a key part of their game, and they're getting up there in terms of like being second place to Ireland in terms of securing their own ball as well. England and Wales not so good on it, and Wales, you have to remember as well, is that when we look at it later on in terms of how little Wales actually run with the ball as well, that when they do run with the ball, if their ball security isn't as good as the other teams, you can maybe see why they're choosing to attack in different ways than the teams that like to hold on to the ball. Next, then we have mauls. So this stat I found pretty incredible. Like Ireland with 48 mauls, a whole 50% more than Scotland in second place with 32. Then we have Italy 22, England 21, Wales 21, and France was 17. So France have pretty much like they've won one maul above being like just a third of Ireland's total. So huge disparity there. Shows that the maul is a huge weapon for Ireland. Scotland have gone to it sometimes. England we saw having good results with it against Italy, but not really building on that through the rest of the tournament. They actually fell away in terms of their maul after that Italy game. They did score obviously through the maul against Ireland, but generally we're not seeing them go so much to the maul, whereas Ireland, it was a feature all the way through for them. And we look at the maul percentage, again, France are at the top there with 94.4, Ireland second with 90.6, Scotland 86.5, Italy 81.5, England and Wales down the bottom there with 80.8. So again, Ireland, they won 48 mauls and still were up over 90% for theirs. France won 17 and we're at 94.4. But again, it's just that the impact for the maul is obviously going to be bigger for Ireland because they just use it more often and are still so efficient with it. France just showing though, when they choose to maul, they're almost guaranteed to be successful with it. So again, France, I think, are one of the best teams in the world, and certainly in Six Nations, of being able to pick and choose when they do use certain elements of their game. Wales there down the bottom, again, it's another thing that they have to work on. Italy kind of mid-pack now. We saw them struggling against England, both maul defence and maul attack as well. And I think since then they put a bit of work into it and they improved it. Okay, so let's have a look at set piece. So I'm going to kind of speed things up a little bit from here because I am going to be doing individual videos for each of the nations as well. So I don't want to go too in depth on stuff because I just recorded a section there, and if I had kept going with it, we were looking at a video that was over an hour long for this. So I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit and just go through some of the numbers and highlight some key stuff rather than talking about everything. So scrums, Italy at the top there with 30, England 29, Scotland next with 25, Ireland and Wales 21 each, and France on 18. Then we look at the percentages. So we've got England with 83%, Italy 77, Scotland 76, France 75, Ireland 72, Wales 68. So the takeaway from this really is that England in the scrum are looking very strong in terms of not just numbers but percent as well. And when we come to look at the line out as well, we're going to see something similar there. Ireland and Wales, need to definitely work on it, especially Wales. But Ireland, part of their problem was actually getting free kicked at the setup to the scrum. So that's something that they'll work on, because I think in most of the games they gave away free kicks for different things in the scrum, One of them was obviously when Healy went in against Scotland, no break foot. That's kind of, something that you can forgive, but a lot of the time it was, in terms of taking the weight or whatever way they were setting up, the referees weren't happy with it. So it should be easy fixes for them, but it's something that through the tournament it kept happening. So you'd hope that they will fix it by the time the World Cup comes round. Onto line-out then. Italy at the top with 71. England next, 61. Ireland 60. Scotland 58. Wales 57. And France 49. So Italy, a lot of line-out ball for them to work with. Next then, in terms of percentages, England at 92. Italy at 89. France 88, Ireland 86, Scotland 85, and Wales 85 as well. So just in terms of set piece, the big takeaway I think is England and Italy looking strong. Italy, they have the platform to use that attacking game that they're developing, and you would hope that from that then we're going to see them using more strike plays as well from their set piece. We saw them trying it a little bit, but they need to be more polished in that area because they're going to get a lot of set piece ball, it seems. So for the World Cup, I think that's an area they need to work on is, polishing those strike plays so that they're going to come off more often than not. For England, they've got a good set piece base there to build a decent, performance from as well. So in terms of the difference between them and Wales, I think is that fundamental area there. Wales have a lot of work to do in their set piece, whereas England seem to have it going fairly well for them. Next then, a stat that really surprised me, and that is individual lineouts. One, top there, Federico Ruzza with 39. That number, like, we've got Chesham 18, Flamont 17, Itoje, Ludlam and Gray all was 16. That number there, I had to go and check on the official stats 2 or 3 times to make sure that I hadn't, read a number wrong or put a column in the wrong place or whatever. That's a crazy number from him. And it's one of these things where you watch a player and you think he's pretty good and he's having a good game, but then you look at the stats over the tournament and you realize he had a fantastic tournament. Next, then we have lineouts stolen. So we have James Ryan to top there with 5. Ruzza makes another appearance along with Tipuric, Gilchrist and Turner with 2 each. So Turner getting 2 means that some lineouts really did go wrong for the hooker to be stealing them. But Ryan there at the top, a couple of seasons ago, he was, out of the lines, looking like, he'd had all that potential before that, and he'd kind of lost his way a little bit, but he really has reinvented himself and come back an even better player. Next time we have clean breaks, so we have Ireland to top with 39, France 33, Italy 29, Scotland 26, Wales 19, and England 16. So Ireland and France, very different types of clean breaks, I think. So Ireland generally will stress your defence, probe for gaps, and then they put someone through the gap. And, a lot of the time you think, oh, they're not going anywhere. They're just doing a sexton loop. And, it looks nice, but then suddenly someone's through a gap. Whereas France, I think a lot of their breaks are to do when they're on the fence. They turn you over. They're so quick at not only getting to the ball first and spotting that chance to break, but also to support with them as well. And, I think it's one of the great things about rugby is that there are different ways, so many different ways to get you excited about the game. And seeing these two teams play is a big example of that. Italy as well, breaking from their own half a lot of the time or from their own 22. England and Wales, a lot of work to do for them, though, in terms of their attack. Next, we have defenders beaten. So France at the top there, 144. Scotland 141. Italy 130. Ireland 119. England 94. Wales 79. So again, England and Wales down the bottom. Again, just work on attack for those two. think England, because they have that kind of set piece going for them as well, it may be a little bit easier for them to work on areas such as attack. And then we kind of got Italy there at 130. I think as they kind of improve their skills and kind of polish in terms of, as I said, kind of their set piece strike moves, but also just their all around handling and be able to handle the pressure of defenses coming at them, we should see that number increase and then kind of up towards Scotland and France as well. Next, then, in terms of individuals, we got Van der Merwe there with 35, amazing numbers from him. You know, he was good at URC level, and then test level, he was kind of, you could take him or leave him. And then he, you know, did well kind of with the Lions, and from there has really improved himself at test level. We got Pernod 25, Demortier 21. What a great debut season for him. Like, made his debut in the opening round against Italy, and the guy took to test rugby like a duck to water. Ange Capuozzo, you know, breakthrough player of the year last year. Real pity that he got injured, because I think he would have been up there with Van der Merwe, Pernod at the top there. Fickou and Dupont 18 and 17 respectively. In terms of offloads, then we got Wales at the top, 46, France 45, Scotland 40, Italy 36, Ireland 30, England 21. About these numbers, all I'd say is I can remember significant offloads from France, from Scotland, and from Ireland that really had huge impact on games. Like, think of the first try from France against England. Think of the Russell offload to Stain right near the line for Ireland. Think of Doris to Ringrose against France, or we just saw, you know, last weekend, Conan to Sheehan as well against England. Wales, honestly, I can't remember a truly significant offload. I'm sure there are ones, and people can tell me about them, but in terms of ones that really stood out, not really for me. So I don't know what they were doing with those offloads. In terms of individuals, then we have Tompkins there with 9, Bruno and Faletau with 8 each, Dupont and Russell 7 each, and Hansen with 6. Next, then, turnovers conceded. So we have England at the top with 74, Italy 72, Ireland 63, France 60, Scotland 60, and Wales 57. So Ireland and Wales, there's 6 turnovers conceded between them. Now, remember that number for when we come to the number of runs that the teams have made, and it'll show you why that Wales number is concerning for them and they need to work on it. Whereas Ireland is fairly okay. Italy, we know all about them doing batshit stuff in their own 22, and it's something that they definitely need to work on. In terms of individuals, then we have Russell 11, Dupont and Lowe 10, Bruno, Van Porphy, Pernod, Don Brandt and North, all with 8 each. And then we have turnovers 1. So with Caelan Doris, James Ryan, Jamie Ritchie on 5 each. Then Tipper Katoje, Taufi Fanua, Zuliani, Lowe and Hansen on 4 each. So Doris, you know, he's had a superb tournament for Ireland. You know, some people's pick for player of the tournament as well. And, you know, turnover is not necessarily something you would expect him to be delivering near the top, you know, because with Ireland, you probably at the start of the tournament, you probably thought, well, you're going to have, you know, the likes of Porter, Byrne, O'Mahony, Van der Fleer, all in there getting turnovers. Doris is probably going to be your main ball carrier, but, you know, it just shows how well he's done this tournament. Next time we have kicks from hand, so we have England at the top, 170, France 156, Ireland 153, Wales 146, Scotland 129, and Italy 107. So there's one thing I want to highlight here, and it is the Scotland number. So Scotland are at 129, right? Ireland and Scotland were within one kick of each other. So Ireland had 92 and Scotland 91 after 3 rounds. So we were both kicking at an average of about 30 kicks per game, or a little tiny smidgen over. Ireland have maintained that through the last 2 rounds. Scotland have been kicking half as much. And part of it was obviously because Kinghorn played in the last round, but Russell played against Ireland and they didn't kick all that much against Ireland either. So it's going to be, something I want to see when they have their warm-ups and into the pool games in the World Cup as well, whether they're trying to change their game, or whether when Russell is there, that changing kicking in Ireland was more of a tactical thing, not to kick to the likes of Lowe, Hansen and Keenan, who've been making meters from kick returns all the tournament. So something to maybe watch out for in the future. Next time we have meters kicked. So we have Finn Russell at the top with 1,667. Anton Dupont next, 1,588. Entomac, 1,507. Van Poortvliet, 1,397. Ramos, 1,354. Farrell, 1,290. So Russell there, he misses a game and he's still almost 100 kicks or meters, ahead of the next guy in Dupont, who had a fantastic tournament as well. Just shows how much, how much meterage he was making from those kicks, and also why I don't kind of understand, why against Ireland they didn't do it. Now, in the last round is different because it was different fly half. Next time we have meters run, so Ireland at the top with 2,686, France 2,436, Scotland 23.25, Italy 21.82, England 19.62, and Wales 1,808. So Wales almost 900 meters down from Ireland in terms of how many meters that they made. Next, then, in terms of individuals, we've got Hugo Keenan at the top with 564. Next is Lowe, 535. Ramos, 504. Van der Merwe, 484. Stewart, 455. And Hugh Jones, 441. So, in terms of the kicking from Scotland, again, you got Keenan and Lowe heading the meters made stats. So maybe that's what they were afraid of, but going to have to watch it in the future. Next, in terms of runs, Ireland made 696, Italy 649, Scotland 620, England 614, Wales 592, and France 556. So Wales more than 100 runs less than Ireland, but we talked about, turnovers conceded, and they only conceded 6 less than Ireland, having had 100 less runs. So that's why I think that number is certainly concerning for them. In terms of meters per run, we got France at the top of 438. No surprise really with their powerful ball carriers, and also the fact that their back three are so elusive. Ireland next with 3.86, Scotland 3.75, Italy 3.36, England 3.20, and Wales with 3.05. So Wales, like France, making almost 50% more ground per run than Wales do. In terms of individuals then, Freddie Stewart had the most carries with 62, Faletau and Schumann with 60 each, Negri 58, Brex 56, and Keenan with 54. And meters per run for 10 or more carries, we have Pinot at the top, 14.25. What a great term for him. Reece Samet with 13.7, but he didn't have that many games, as we said. Lowe with 12.75, Kinghorn 12.72, Hugh Jones 11.31, Hassel Collins 10.8, and Keenan 10.44. In terms of passes, Italy made 981, Ireland 909, Scotland 857, Wales 788, England 753, and France 644. So with France, you can see a lot of the time, I think, they're super efficient in terms of they never have high numbers in terms of individual areas, but it's when you put the whole package together and you realize what they're able to do with less ball, less territory, less passes, less kicks, etc., less runs that they're so efficient with when they do decide to do something. Next, then we have individuals. So Ben White there 282, Dupont 279, Van Porfley 265, Barney 260, Williams 227, and Murray 193. So Ben White at the top there, and I think earlier on in the tournament we weren't seeing him in the top 6 at all because again Scotland were kicking a lot, but then I think his numbers came up compared to the likes of, say, Ireland and Italy, 2 teams that pass a lot, mainly because those teams switched their 9s throughout the tournament. We had, Barney out for Italy and then Gibson Park coming back in for Ireland. Next then onto tackles. So Scotland made the most tackles with 831, France with 820. Then we have Wales 742, England 706, Ireland 704, and Italy with 690. So just a significant one there is basically Italy. Italy used to have to make tons of tackles, every single game because they'd have none of the ball. The teams would just be all over them, and it's a big testament to them that they started turning that around where they're the ones holding onto the ball now. In terms of tackle percentage, Scotland amazingly up there with 91.7. That is fantastic defensive shift from them for the whole tournament. France 89, Ireland 85.3, Italy 84.8, Wales 84.0, and England with 83.0. In terms of top tacklers, then we've got Ferguson with 83, Matt that is, Flamand with 81, Fickou 67, Van der Fleur and Ludlam 67 as well, and James Ryan with 66. In terms of dominant tackles, then we have Fischetti. What a great young player he is. Going to see lots more of him in the future. He's got 10, Tipperick with 8, Ludlam 7, Ryan, Itoje, Nicotera, and Gray all with 6 each. Missed tackles then, we got Pierre Bruno with 17, Nicotera 16, Farrell, Ringrose, and Genge. Farrell, Ringrose with 15 each, and then Genge with 13. In terms of penalties conceded, Wales way up the top there with 63. On top of all their other problems, discipline is also an issue for them. Italy next, along with Scotland with 54, France 53, England 47, and Ireland with 44. So Ireland's discipline has been so good throughout the whole tournament. England fairly good as well. And again, it just shows you there's a lot of kind of fundamentals there for England that are good. They just need to now work on other areas and hope that focusing on those areas doesn't mean that the areas that are good at the moment drop off for them. In terms of individuals, then we have Andrew Porter with 13, Fischetti with 10, Faletau, Beard, and Ritchie with 7 each, and then Sinclair and Faletau with 6 each. And just because it's the end of the term as well, we're going to look at tries. So France scored the most of 21. That includes 7 against England in that second last game. Ireland next with 20, Scotland 17, England 13, Wales 11, and Italy down there with 9. So Italy again, for all the excitement that they brought to their matches, they're not converting in terms of their, and against Wales, it probably shouldn't have been a surprise really for us when we look at those overall numbers that they weren't able to score the tries that would have potentially delivered them that victory that they were their favourites for. In terms of individuals, then we have Damien Penaud with 5, Ramos, Kinghorn, and Jones with 4 each. So congratulations, Damien Penaud. Try assist, then we have Dupont and Ntamak. What a great halfback pairing they are. Russell there as well, 2 Pilotu and Webb with 3 each. Okay, so that's the end of this video. It's a bit longer than the standard ones because there's so much to talk about. Again, I've got tons more to say, but I'm going to do it on each of the individual ones rather than making this one even longer. But I will say that tomorrow I'll have my team of the tournament out for you to see, and you guys can tell me where I'm wrong and why I'm wrong. I'm sure a lot of you will enjoy that. Just to say as well that also going to have some more select 15s maybe later this week, or I might even go into next week because there's so much stuff to do at the end of this one. And I've also got videos, as I said, on each of the countries and how they went. Plus, we've got build up to the Women's Six Nations. Look out for that, maybe Thursday and Friday as teams come out. And then we've also got build up for the URC games and coverage of them at the weekends as well. So, as I said at the top, if you wouldn't mind, maybe post a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, share the video, all those kind of nice stuff that really help the algorithm. And I'll see you guys soon.